Alrighty, here we are. Y'all, I promise my head is not this big in real life. Hey, everybody. Hey, Yalanda.
Hello. I don't know what is going on.
Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in, all the people. Hey! Oh, I didn't turn my light on. That's why it looks dark. Oof, lordy. Welcome in, everyone. As you're arriving, grab a seat, do all the good things. Grab a seat, pull up, send your daily heartney. You can't listen, but you're here. We appreciate you anyway, Alice. Thank you. This entire thing is going to be about you since you can't hear it. Alice likes to buy feet. No, I'm kidding. Everyone, welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Our Vote Counts Town Hall. Tonight we will be featuring the stylings of one Ian Calderon, who is running for governor of California, the Golden State.
Yes, I can.
Yes. Miss Yoli is in California. That is her home state. That's where she is. That's where she loves to be. She's never leaving.
Never.
She'll be there forever. And now she has a decision to make, Yoli. There's like 14 people in the Democratic primary that I've seen that I counted so far. 14.
Wow.
There's over, I think maybe there might be close to 30 people running in the primary altogether. It's a lot of people running for this office.
They got big shoes to fill, so.
They do have big shoes to fill. They do. Big, long shoes. Katie Porter, that's right. Eric Swalwell is in the Democratic primary. I can't be bothered with who's on the other side. So there's some kind of a former sheriff or something, former county sheriff maybe.
Riverside County.
And
we don't want that one, no.
And I know Butch Ware. I'm very familiar with Butch Ware. He's an independent. There's another independent. Just a bunch of people. A bunch of people. And as you're coming in here, we're waiting for our candidate to arrive. People, please send your daily heartney to our account. It really helps us out. Also, like and share, which I'm going to do right now. Like the live, share it, repost it, add it to your worth it. I guarantee you, we are worth it. Share it with your followers. Press down on that prompt where it says host, and a list of your followers comes up, and you just go all the way down the line. Even if you've sent this to them before, send it to them every time you see us. We talk to a different person every time we're on here. It's a different office. It's a different state. Different. You're going to get something different. You're going to see you're not even going to see the same moderators every time. You're going to see different moderators. We're going to be talking about different things. So every town hall is a different kind of experience. We do nothing the same here. My name is Ayana, and I'm from Ohio, the Buckeye State. Literally, the Buckeyes fall on your head when you're walking outside. It's also the name of some kind of football team. I'm not sure. I don't pay attention to that. So yeah, I've actually never been.
What is a Buckeye?
It's like an acorn. It's a nut. Oh. But it's like dark brown on the outside and kind of caramel brown colored on the inside. The eye, it looks like an eyeball.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know why I thought it was some kind of animal.
You might be thinking of the buck, like the deer.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Does it look like a deer eye?
I mean, no. No.
Okay.
But I don't know why it's called the buck eye as opposed to some other kind of eye, but it does look like an eyeball. And they even, in the fall, they turn it into a candy. So you can get it.
Oh.
I don't, because it has peanut butter in it. I'm allergic to peanuts, but it's like peanut butter in the middle. And then around it is chocolate, obviously, for the brown. So, but yeah, the leaf looks like a broccoli leaf. So sometimes people mistake the leaf for that. It's a very funny place, Ohio, but not as funny and fun as California, where all the movies and stuff are made, and the TV shows and the what else do they make there?
Fun fact: I have only met one famous person.
What?
Lived here.
What you mean? I thought they were walking up and down the street. That they came into the Starbucks. They go to the Targets. Doesn't Beyonce live in California?
Does she?
I believe so.
I don't go to LA, so.
Well, she doesn't go to LA. Did you hear that, Mr. Ian? She doesn't go to LA.
No.
Oh, somebody say yes, she does. Beyonce does live in California.
Oh, she does. Oh, well,
Thank you.
Okay.
See, now you got to get out so you can go run into Beyonce and Blue Ivy.
Right.
Mr. Ian.
Hey guys, apparently I'm not doing this the right way.
Oh, come.
But we're going to get there.
You old people, when you come onto our town hall.
You know, I don't even know.
It's like your first
Old
day
people,
on
man. You know what? I just don't have a background, but you can tell I'm in a car. I just finished my, I just finished the town hall with a bunch of folks.
Don't say that out loud. TikTok will hear you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Oh.
Wait a minute. You in a car? Is that a limousine?
No, I just finished a candidate town hall, and it just finished up right now, so I didn't have time to get anywhere.
Okay, well, if you can choose any background, if you can't find the one that we sent you, can you choose anyone? Because we don't want TikTok to be looking at you in a car and thinking that you're driving while you're doing this, and then they'll kick you off.
I certainly am not. I'm certainly not.
You don't want that. That's a nice car, though.
I don't know what that is.
What is that, a Lincoln Navigator?
Okay, hold on here.
Is that a GMC?
I've actually never gone live on TikTok before.
Really? Do you do any
Never.
videos for TikTok?
No, never been live. I just do posting, but that's it.
You have kids. Are your kids on TikTok at all?
No, they're young, 8, 6, 5, and 4, so they don't have any social media just yet.
Oh, okay. There we are. All right.
Yay.
Ian Calderon. Everyone, welcome in. Ian, if you could for us, I'm going to follow you right now. If you could for us, share this, repost it. You know how to share from your...
Yep.
Share it with your followers.
You got it.
Let the people know you're here. Also, people, while you're in here, please like the live. Like it, so we can get on the FYP. Send us your daily heart me. You can gift the panel if you'd like. You don't have to. It's not a requirement of being here. What is a requirement of being here is that you are participating nicely. Be nice. This isn't a debate style town hall. This is an adversarial. This is us with Mr. Calderon, and he's going to be talking about his vision for the future of California. Ian Calderon. It's okay if I call you Ian, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Oh, you got some fans. Narkirk says, hi, Ian.
Hey.
My name is Ayana, and I am in Ohio, and this is my co-host, co-moderator, Yalanda. She likes to be called Yoli. I don't know what she's going to call herself. Is it Yoli or Yalanda tonight? What are we doing?
Yoli is great. Yoli's great.
Okay, so
My
Yoli is
mom calls
in
me
California.
Yalanda when I'm in trouble. So
Oh,
my
okay.
mom calls me.
Yoli is in
Yoli, where in
California.
California at?
I am in Southern California in the Inland Empire.
All right. What city?
I'm in Bloomington.
Oh, very cool.
Yes.
So yeah, so we are your moderators for tonight. If you're in the audience and you have questions for Ian, you can either leave them in the chat and we will ask them, or you can hit the multi-guest option and you can come up and you can ask him the questions yourself. Please do not be shy. Actually, we prefer it if you ask the questions. We would love for the public to participate. The California governor's race, it's huge. We were just talking about this before Ian came on, that at least in the Democrat primary, there's at least between 10 and 14 people running, depending on the day. People are dropping out and dropping in, and and so it's a pretty big race. So if you are from California or you just have an interest in California, you want to ask questions, please feel free to do so. This is Our Vote Counts, a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to empower voters, support candidates of integrity, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, we're building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. Thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. And again, while you are in the audience, please continue to like the live, share, repost. You'll see reminders throughout the evening to do that. Ian Calderon, Ian Charles, it says here, Ian Charles Calderon is a businessman, a politician and a businessman who's running for California governor in the 2026 election, actually the 2026 primary. Got to get through the primary first. He previously served as a Democratic member of the California State Assembly from 2012 to 2020, representing the 57th District in Los Angeles County. Ian, for those who are meeting you for the first time, please tell us more about yourself and why you decided to run for office.
Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. So I actually got my start in politics when I was really young. My dad was actually in the state assembly and had a long career in the legislature. He got elected to the state assembly in 1982. I was born in 85. So I learned the value of public service at a very early age. And I was very adamant. I said, Dad, that's your life, not mine. I'm not going to go into it. And as I grew up, went to college, I studied political science. I minored in communication. I started seeing these issues of a lot of decisions that were being made in Sacramento and the outsized impact that it was having on my generation, future generations. And so, I got this crazy wild idea of running for the assembly. And I was 25 years old. I decided to start my campaign with no shortage of people looking down their nose at me, talking about how I was too young and how I didn't have enough life experience in order to do the job and get it done well. But I, through it all, was able to get elected. And I got elected at the age of, I just turned 27. I was the first millennial ever elected to the state legislature. And then in 2016 became the youngest majority leader in the history of the state. And so I was very fortunate and privileged to be able to represent my community in East LA County. It was 70% Latino, about 11+% API for almost 8 years. But because I was young when I got elected, I had a lot of my major life milestones happen. I got engaged, I got married, I had 3 of my 4 kids, all while serving in the legislature. Our kids are 8, 6, 5, and 4. And getting in 2019, I kind of came to this position where I could see that I was gone a lot, the impact that was having on my family, and the fact that I was gone and missing a lot of milestones for my kids. And as much as I loved what I did, as much as I liked being in the position that I was in, and as much as people were telling me, Ian, you're at the height of your power, you're at the height of your influence, you need to, you could go run for Congress, you could run statewide, which is great, but that just wasn't the thing that was most important to me. The thing that was most important to me was being with my wife and raising our kids and not missing out on moments that I would never get back. Office is always there. You can always run for office, but your kids and your family's only going to grow up once. So I left. I made the decision that nobody in my position makes. I gave up power. And after I left the legislature, I started my own business. I did state and local government affairs, just representing different folks and helping them navigate, local and state government, develop relationships. But over the last couple of years, it just became really frustrating to be somebody who, lives in this world where I've seen the way that government works. I've seen the inefficient and effectiveness of state government. And I felt like my party had let me down on a lot of issues. The presidential election was very illuminating in terms of the electorate, what they're looking for, and the fact that Democrats just weren't able to convince voters that they understood what life was like for them on a daily basis. And I find that very disconnected from the Democratic Party that I knew when I was growing up, or the Democratic Party that I believed in. Digital assets, embracing technology, working for workers, supporting the little guy, creating pathways to home ownership and affordability and accountability. These are Democratic ideas, and yet we're not running on that.
And Ian, I've heard you've been called the king of crypto or something like that. What is?
Yeah, apparently. It's so funny is that one of the things that was really important to me is I'm a Libra and I like balance. And that's really important to me. And I'm all about justice. I'm all about balance. And so when I was in the legislature, I became aware of digital assets and I became aware of actually blockchain technology. So in 2017, I created the blockchain working group just to look at blockchain technology, how we can implement it and it could be used so that we could create more efficient and more effective government. We're servants. We got to do a good job at delivering services to the people that we represent. The state doesn't do that. So all the way back in 2017, I recognized that, created the working group. And then, eventually I ended up leaving in. The report was delivered to the legislature in 18, and then shortly after COVID, and I left. But when COVID hit, we lost $32 billion in the state and to fraud and waste. And if we had instituted blockchain technology like I had talked about, which is the digital ledger that is connected to Bitcoin digital assets, we wouldn't have lost that amount of money, and that would have put us in a position where we would have had more money to take care of people and fund more services and provide more benefit and help to folks. So it wasn't so much that I'm the crypto king. I was just the first in the state to ever introduce and work on any legislation related to digital assets and blockchain technology. And I believe that it has a future. We got to have, you've got to be able to embrace technology and its efficiencies and effectiveness to make government just work for people, because it's not working for people, not in this state.
Okay, I agree. Crypto is the future, apparently. More government entities are investing in it. And you brought the idea to California and they were pretty receptive to it. Now you just got to get it out to the masses. You got to get the message to the masses. It's hard to break people out of, good old paper money, good old coins. You saw that the penny passed away this year, last year, apparently, and they had a funeral service for it. And that old U.S. currency is very near and dear to people's hearts. So you might have a battle on your hands with that one. But I got like $30 in Bitcoin. So I'm with you. I'm right. Mr. Ian, we're just going to do an icebreaker. So I'm going to need you to put your thinking caps on. Just put it on. Put the thinking cap on. If California had a soundtrack, a music soundtrack, a playlist, what 3 songs would be on that playlist?
Well, California Love, 100%. One of my favorites. Other 2 songs, I would say, I don't know which song, but I think Cypress Hill would make an appearance there. Okay. They're good. And then, man, I gotta think of something. I like, the Eagles. I think, I love California. Hotel California. You know what, Ian? Very basic answers, but I'll accept them because I love the Eagles. I love
the theme song.
What's
They're not like us. They're not like us.
I said. Well, I want to be careful because that's totally true. I don't want to offend anybody who's not a Dodgers fan in California, because the Dodgers they adopted that song, and Okay. So I'm just trying to be careful.
Didn't they won some kind of baseball tournament or something, right? Didn't they last year?
Yeah, it's a World Series 2 years in a row.
Okay, that's fine. I'm from Cleveland. We almost won 1 year. That's fine. So So we got that out of the way. We're going to go ahead with our questions, question and answer period. Again, if you're in the audience, please continue to tap the screen, share out the live, and participate. Actually, you know what? Before we get to that, I did see one question, and that does kind of go into the first category. The question was, roll back up here. Someone wanted to know, what would you do? How will you make it easier for families to buy a home in California? And Yoli's actually going to talk about, she's going to ask you economic questions. So I don't know if she wants to answer that one now or if she wants to wait, but it's up to you. It's up to you, Yoli.
Yes, go ahead. Can you please answer that question?
Yeah, this is one of the single greatest challenges and issues that our state is facing. 55% of Californians are actually homeowners. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 40 years old. The median priced home in the state of California is $800,000, and you got to be making over $235,000 a year just to purchase the median priced home. You know, this is a promise that is that it's a California promise. It's a dream. You work hard. You do. You follow the rules and do things the right way, you get to own a home and you get to build that generational wealth. And unfortunately, what's happened in California is we've told entire generations of people that home ownership isn't for you. You're going to be a renter your whole life. And people almost begrudgingly, they've almost started to accept that they're just not going to be homeowners. And the idea that you can't build that generational wealth for yourself, for your family, to have something to have that security, that economic security, pass something along. And in return, you get to spend 50, 60, 70% of your monthly income on rent. That's not sustainable. We can't survive doing that. And home ownership and the lack of home ownership is tied to homelessness. It's tied to poverty. It's tied to affordability. And so the next governor really needs to be committed of creating actual, real pathways to home ownership. And sir, you got to be able to reduce regulations that are unnecessary and duplicative to be able to encourage that investment so that we can build homes, but not just any homes, actual starter homes people can afford. I mean, we don't build communities in California anymore. We probably developed 7% of the overall land mass in this state. And we don't grow. We don't build communities. We have everything concentrated in coastal California. And yet we have this, the vitality of the Central Valley that we make no investment in, but yet we can make investments. They can create jobs, build communities and affordable houses for people to build protect their families and build their families. So what I want to do in this state is we need to create pathways by actually allowing people to save for a down payment. And right now there's a non-refundable tax credit of $120. So if you've got a write-off, lucky you can get $120 back to yourself in order to help you save as a renter's credit. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to increase that tenfold to $1,200 a year and make it refundable. So regardless if you have any write-offs or not, you're going to get $1,200 credit every year from the state so that you can put that towards saving towards a down payment to bring yourself into home ownership. Next, we got to make it easier to get into home, and then once you're in the home, stay in the home. So Proposition 13 is this law that we have on the books that basically caps property taxes. And when I was running, being the first millennial, my question was, why do I want to protect something that makes it more expensive or doesn't advantage me as a millennial and future generations in order to get into a house? And this was something that was used to get teachers, firefighters, average everyday workers to get into a house and stay in a house because it capped and made property taxes less volatile because it was very volatile, and this lowered the costs. Well, right now, there are homes that have Proposition 13 protection. So what I'm saying is, let's extend that to first-time home buyers. If you're a first-time home buyer and you want to buy a home and you're looking at buying a home that's already under the protection of Proposition 13, you get those same benefits extended to you to lower the cost of not just purchasing, but your monthly payment and being able to get in and stay in that house. And then homeowners right now, they have a $7,000 property tax credit. It's been $7,000 since 1978. This has not changed. 1978. So what I'm going to do is I say, all right, we're going to 10x that, and it's going to be $70,000, because if that credit had kept up with inflation, it would be $70,000 today, significantly lowering the property tax bill that families are paying to try and stay in their home. And then the next question is, well, we need to pay for it. How are we going to pay for it? I'm glad you guys made me ask. What we're going to do is we're going to keep corporations from pricing us out of our communities, keep foreign investors and speculative investors from pricing us and families out of our homes. Right now, corporate and foreign investors own 1 in 5 homes in the state. 1 in 5 homes. That is 20% of all the homes, 1.45 million homes, are owned by corporate and foreign interests. Many of them just sit empty because it's just a place for them to put their money. So if you want to come into our state and you want to buy our homes, you're going to pay a huge fee in order to do it. And then we're going to charge you an annual fee every single year. And the money that we generate for that is going to go into funding that tax credit for renters to save for down payment, funding the credits that can get first-time home buyers into a house, and then keep those homeowners in their home.
I love that. I love that. I'm a renter, so that would be great.
Well, I mean, and we need to build more supply. We need to build more supply. If we don't build more supply and create more diversity in where the supply is and where communities are coming up and where jobs are, we're not going to lower the cost of housing. But if we can realistically create a pathway to home ownership and build that supply, that is what it's going to lower the rent.
Awesome. When we're talking about rent, as someone who lived in low income housing, and my rent will go up 10% annually, making it harder to make ends meet. Will you commit to implementing rent control or anti-gouging measures specifically targeted at low income housing? And if so, how quickly will we see those changes?
Yeah, we actually did some of this in California when I was in the legislature. You know, it wasn't a full-blown rent control, but it was a cap on how much you could charge and how much you can raise rent, especially for specific circumstances, because you could see the gouging and you could see the people that were being taken advantage of from different corporate landlords. And so for me, what I want to do is, I think that there's just no accountability and no follow through in government. We make a lot of promises. We do the pretty press release. We do the pretty, social media posts, and then there's no follow through. We have to follow through. Part of that is there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse that occurs at the state level. And there's a lot of money that's wrapped up that we can turn around and use to provide relief now for renters in this state and to lower costs. I mean, it's like you work your job, you work hard, you get a 3% raise in a year if you're lucky. But guess what? The cost of living in California increased 5%. And so you're still underwater. So it doesn't matter how much you keep getting raises, you're just still underwater. So, we need to build more supply. We need to make it easier for renters to be able to save for that down payment and to get that relief. But we also have to institute accountability, because that accountability is going to help us find more money so that we can pass those credits and those abilities to make it affordable onto renters.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay, I have another question. Thousands of IE residents still commute 2 hours each way to LA or Orange County because high-paying local jobs haven't kept pace with housing growth. What specific state incentives will you offer to lure high-tech and white-collar employers to San Bernardino and Riverside counties so residents can work where they live?
I think that this is something that's similar to the Central Valley and rural communities. I talked a little bit about how so much of California, it's economic development, the jobs, how it's so concentrated in coastal California. And we need to be able to, we need to create incentives so that we can incentivize businesses, industries to open up in the IE, to move to the Central Valley, where you have more land, where you can build more communities, where you can have affordable housing and an affordable rent, and still live close to work and not spend so much of your time. We keep getting put into these false choices of, well, we just need to go into our cities and build up. But not everybody wants to live in a position like that. Not everybody wants to, raise their family in an apartment building. They want to have a little more opportunity to do it in a single family home with a backyard or some outdoor space. And so, yes, when I talk about accountability, finding money so that we can incentivize industries to move out to the IE, to move into rural California and the Central Valley, we need to focus on doing that. And then we need to provide different incentives for communities to be built out there and housing to be built out there. And so, we just need to spread out. We're too concentrated. We need to spread out, and it's going to happen through investment. It's going to be done through money that we're finding that's just unaccountable money that's being wasted and not going towards actually helping families in the state.
Right. Looks like we have a question from Luis. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Luis, what's going on, man?
Hey, how you doing, man? Good. No, I got my San Diego hat today.
Yeah.
I'm actually in Florida. I'm running for state house, and I love that you brought up Proposition 13 because that's actually part of my agenda is to propose legislation here in Florida to have a similar law here that mimics Proposition 13. I guess what I'm really asking is for advice on how I can write that type of legislation, or what research should I be doing?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that what you need to do, like, obviously take a look at what's in law in California, but it has to, like, you have to be creative in how you're going to make it apply to the world and the reality that we live in today. There are so many young people and so many families that don't feel like government in particular cares about them, because you've got this widening gap between the people that have a lot of money and the people that don't, and between the rich and the working poor. And so you have to be able to create a program and create a law that accounts for, the world that we live in today, to be creative and be innovative in how you write this law, so that you're lowering the threshold it takes for a first-time home buyer to actually be able to save and get into a home. What kind of incentives exist? What kind of down payment programs exist? You guys in Florida, you don't have income tax, but you have property tax, correct?
Yeah, they're trying to do away with that next year, though, or this year.
But I'm curious. I mean, how are you gonna how's anything gonna get paid for? I'm just curious if you don't generate any revenue to pay for anything.
The governor's suggestion is that we double the sales tax, and he's talking about implementing another form of tourism tax, which would just discredit people from actually just wanting to come here. So there's going to be a huge downfall of negative, income coming into the state. So I'm curious to know as to how we'd replace that. So it's getting a little scary here in Florida.
Yeah, I know. I think it's you got a lot of people that are positioning, maybe running for a different office like president, and so they're going to throw out things out there that might not actually economically work, that are going to probably create a lot of challenges for the people that live in the state of Florida. But for us, we're a high income tax state. I think people are overtaxed, being overtaxed. I mean, even when it comes to property taxes, there's a lot of people, which I don't disagree with, who feel like if I own a home and I pay property taxes on that home forever, do I ever really own that home? Yeah. And so I think for you to be able to work on implementing a Proposition 13 type law, it'll go really far. I mean, you have to account for the fact that there's going to be a loss of revenue, and how you are going to be able to backfill that, and what you can do to fill that budget gap so people aren't falling through the cracks. But I think it's a noble cause, and I love that you're working on it, because whatever it does, though, it has to work for all these generations of millennials, Gen Z, Alpha, on and on, to feel like there is actually a hope for them to actually work hard and own a home one day. And so I can't tell you exactly how you can structure that, because I don't know Florida just as well, all that well, but I think it's a fight worth having, because you need to be able to build that generational wealth, and you can't do it without home ownership.
I agree. Thank you. That really was it. I'm going to continue to watch the live. I'm excited to hear your other answers for these questions.
Thank you,
Luis.
Thank you.
You got it. Okay. All right, Yoli, I don't know if you noticed in the chat, we got question after question after.
What would you do to support small businesses in California?
Yeah, so I'm a small business, and so in California, we pass probably 1,000 new laws a year. No joke, it's about 1,000 new laws a year. And what happens, and I used to have these conversations when I was there in the legislature a little over 5 years ago, is when we pass new regulations, the assumption is, okay, well, you pass this new regulation, and so therefore that's what people have to be compliant with. But that's not reality. Reality is that all the existing regulations continue to stay in place. And so not only do you have to be compliant with the new regulation, you still have to comply with all the other existing regulations. And when you have a legislature, especially we have term limits in California, there's not an institutional knowledge in terms of the application of these regulations. They're moments of time because legislators only serve for a certain moment of time, and then it changes and new people come in who don't have the historical knowledge of what's been passed. And so what you end up is you have this regulation that then competes with a regulation here, and you have to comply with both, but they contradict each other. So now I got to make a choice to comply with this regulation and accept the fine for this regulation. We can't do that anymore. We need significant regulatory reform, get rid of all the unnecessary duplicative regulations that no longer serve a purpose because they just add time to doing business, they add cost to doing business, and they make it too difficult for anybody to start a small business. It's not a sustainable model. We also need, like I said, more accountability when it comes to enforcing laws. We have a lot of small businesses that work really hard to do the right thing. But when the state doesn't follow through on the promises it makes to protect the industries and protect these jobs, then there's no support there. So it's just making sure that we're lowering the bar of entry to actually be able to start a business, lowering the costs that are associated with starting a business, and making sure that there's an open line of communication. I'm not going to be the guy that'll sit here and tell you I have the answer to every single challenge that California faces under the sun. I just don't think that's realistic, and anybody that says that they do is lying. I am a collaborator. I like working with people, and I like to hear people challenge my ideas and my thoughts and tell me something that maybe I didn't know. And so I just think the next governor needs to be really focused on collaboration. I think that there's too much of a concentration of power right now at the top in the state, especially within the governor's office. We need more of a democratization of power, bringing more people in, more voices to the table, and more partners to be able to help me think through, how can we make it easier for small businesses? How can we lower the burden of entry and the cost of doing business in this state in ways that maybe I didn't even think of? And so, I think that California's future is bright, but only if we work together collaboratively, not if somebody gets elected with this ego of saying, it's only me, I've got all the ideas, because where have we heard that before? There's a certain president that said that, and look at the challenges that we're facing today. That's not California's future.
Facts. Here's another one. What's your plan for keeping tech jobs in California?
Yeah, so the reason why we have these industries in California is because we have the workforce, the educated workforce. We have the greatest university system in the world. And the problem that we're facing right now is because the cost of living is so high, because there's no pathway to home ownership. You graduate from college and you want to work in tech, and say you're even making $150,000 a year. Well, you're not making enough in order to really afford living in California, and you're not making nearly enough to be able to buy a home in California. So what ends up happening? That workforce that leaves the state. People leave the state, they start the business, they start their families in other states, and we eventually will lose those jobs because if the workforce can't afford to live here, then the jobs are going to follow the workforce. And when it comes to tech can go anywhere, really. There's, because we have the workforce and we have this infrastructure that's built up that is a little more amenable to starting tech and growing tech businesses within this state. They're here. But they really can go anywhere. I mean, we've seen this with Austin, Texas, and a lot of tech and industry moved to Austin, Texas. And so, California is a tech leader in the world now, but that doesn't mean that California is going to continue to be the tech leader in the world. We have to make sure that people can afford to live here, that workforce can stay here, because it does us no good to educate the future of our workforce and then throw them out into the world that they can't afford and they can't support themselves, because they're going to say, well, I can't move out of my parents' house. I can't buy a house. I can't even afford to support myself, so I can't start a family. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to have to do it somewhere else. And those jobs eventually are going to follow them. So create that affordability, but then also not stifle creativity and innovation in the state. Our economy is a creative economy. So arts, entertainment, tech, These are creative industries that generate billions of dollars a year that we turn around and put into education, social safety net programs, Medi-Cal. And so we just need to make sure that we're not overburdening with regulations, but also we're protecting people, protecting people's data, protecting people's privacy, not letting anybody be taken advantage of, having those conversations now. And so people need to feel protected, but also at the same time, like we're not stifling the ability for somebody to be creative and innovative in this state. And once they can be creative and innovative, be able to afford to stay here.
Yes, I love that. There's so many more questions in the chat, but did you want to move on, Ayana, to healthcare? And we could go back to those.
In the interest of time,
Yeah.
to be able to get through all of these, just all of the categories, not even all of the questions, but all of the categories, because I mean, Ian, you've got some great ideas and you know your stuff. I love a candidate who knows their plan and they can lay it out. I love that. I'm loving listening to you talk, but I do want to get your opinion. Is this your I love it.
It's a thing. I don't know. Like, I'm in a car, so I don't have a lot of space here.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to move on to healthcare. To support a healthy California, it's important to focus on reducing costs, improving population health, and enhancing quality of care for individuals. What is your long-term vision for California's healthcare system, and what structural changes do you believe are necessary to get there?
I believe in universal basic care for all of Californians and have it be portable. And so what do I mean by that? I mean that no matter who you are in this state, every single person, you have basic care, which means that you have preventative care, you can be able to see your primary doctor, emergency care in case something bad happens. You're not going to be stuck with a lifetime of debt that you have to pay off, maternal care, child care. These are all things that we need to be providing as a state. And it's what we can do right now. It is within our power right now to actually guarantee universal basic coverage for all of Californians. We have 39 plus million people that live in this state. That's more than the entire nation of Canada. The amount of money that we spend just for healthcare, which is people paying their premiums, paying their deductibles, employer contributions, state contributions, is more than enough money for right now, tomorrow, to actually change the dynamic and create universal basic coverage for all Californians that are living in this state. And you layer on top of that, private care. So if you wanted to grow or expand your coverage or pay for more, you can, but everybody's got their basics covered. Healthcare is a right. It is not a privilege. It is a right. I can't tell you how many times, even still to this day, my kid wakes up in the middle of the night with a fever, or my son, who actually was premature, he's 5 years old. But when you're premature, you have underdeveloped lungs sometimes. And when he was really young, what ended up happening was he would get RSV and he couldn't breathe. And so we would have to rush him to CHOC over here, over in Orange County, in order to make sure that he was, and we would spend two days in the hospital just to make sure that he was getting oxygen and he was getting flushed so that he could breathe. Imagine not having healthcare and being in that position. And then you go to the emergency room, you don't have that coverage. Well, they're not going to deny you, but what's going to happen? They're going to say, well, there's no transparency in pricing. So as a hospital, I'm going to say that this costs $200,000. And that's a fake number, by the way, because nobody actually knows the true cost of care. And then the health insurance company says, well, we think it costs $100,000, so we'll pay you $100,000. So either the rest of that is going to get put on to the individual, or it's going to get spread out across the system for everybody, which means premiums are going to go up, deductibles are going to go up, healthcare workers' wages are going to go down. We have a broken healthcare system. It has to be completely reimagined. And, I'm not interested in my run for governor is not interested in just continuing to capitulate to this existing system that everybody knows and everybody agrees is broken. We need different. We need new. We need change. And we can guarantee universal health care tomorrow without going to the federal government and trying to get any waivers that we're never going to get. We can guarantee that now. It is within our own power. And so let's do that. Let's make that decision. And with all the money that we can save from having more accountable government through, the waste and fraud that we expose and we prosecute, even in medical payments, we do that. We waste money and, put all that back to providing universal basic health care for every Californian in the state. and we can do it.
Okay, so in that same vein, and you mentioned waste, fraud, and abuse. You mentioned healthcare as a right. Everybody should have the same access. Everybody should be able to have healthcare. What is your plan? I guess I don't want your opinion. I want your plan for providing health care coverage or health care insurance for undocumented workers, undocumented people in your state. Because California is one state. I think there may be two or three others that provide Medicaid for undocumented workers in the state, which some don't take advantage of because they're afraid if they go to a hospital that, ICE will be waiting for them to pick them up. So they'd rather go to a clinic, that's not going to ask, don't care, whatever. Are you going to continue that? Or are you going to, cave to the pressure of the federal government and discontinue it and say, screw them? I don't think you're going to say screw them, but it seems like a lot of state legislatures are starting to get on this anti-immigrant hate train. Is this something that you're looking to change, or would you like to expand it?
Yeah. So the reason why we need reform and we need a universal pooling of money in order to cover and provide universal care is to be able to answer that exact question. Like I said, 39 million people living in the state. There's 2 to 3 million that don't have access to any health care. And so if we take all the money that we pay into our premiums, pay into our deductibles, businesses pay, the state pays, and we pool it and actually create a universal basic coverage system, that will cover everybody in this state, regardless of documentation status. What we can't do is we can't be covering folks that are undocumented while we have folks that are citizens, and born here that don't have coverage. And that's the situation that we have in the state of California right now. And that's why you're seeing a lot of backlash because, folks like, I'm a citizen, I'm born here, and I don't even get access to this. I don't have that support. I don't have that help. And you lose the argument. And Democrats particularly have lost that argument because of their approach. That's why you have to reimagine exactly how we're going to provide healthcare, and doing it with the way that I've suggested provides healthcare coverage for everybody. And what people need to understand too is that, these covered, if you go in, regardless of your documentation status, you go in, they're not going to deny you that care. They're just going to push the cost onto everybody else. Everybody pays that cost, that coverage. So you do want everybody having coverage. And for anybody who's in the chat saying, oh, well, they don't pay taxes, I'm a taxpayer. Nah, I'm sorry, they do. Every time they go and buy something, they're paying sales tax. And so, I seem to remember that our country became a country, and we asked for independence because of a Boston Tea Party, because it was taxation without representation. Well, it is no different here. They are paying taxes. And then it's like, well, then they should be doing it the right way and becoming citizens. Well, what's the right way? I'm just curious, because there is no immigration reform, comprehensive immigration reform that we have. The federal government they have let us down. They have let states down by being completely useless in not solving this issue and doing the right thing and creating a realistic pathway to citizenship in this state, in this country. And so, so they start the process and they go to immigration court. And what happens when they go to immigration court doing it the right way? There's an ICE agent waiting to deport them, not back to where they're from, not back to a family that they know or a country that they know, to a prison and somewhere else they have no idea where they're going. That isn't justice. That is inhumane. That's not who we are as a country, or who we shouldn't be as a country. And that certainly isn't who we are as a state. So if we reimagine in the way that I'm talking about healthcare, we can provide it to everybody. We can provide that right. We can provide that support. Because nobody deserves to live in a world of uncertainty, that they can't go to the hospital when they're sick or go to the doctor when they're sick. And we need to provide enough coverage in a system so that they're coming when they've got the sniffles and they've got a cold or they've got a fever, not when they've got pneumonia and they need to be in the hospital for a week plus, because we're all paying for that cost.
All right. I like that response. And you actually, with that answer, you answered all of my questions that I had in this category. So I appreciate that. But we did.
When I say I'm efficient and effective, I'm proving it.
You are. I mean, hey, proof is in the pudding. That's the pudding, honey. We do have a question in the chat. It said, would you be open to allowing more healthcare clinics in rural areas?
We have to. Absolutely. So I've spent a lot of time in the Central Valley. I'm actually going to be in the Central Valley again the 14th next week. I got a bunch of events lined up. And I think that rural California and the Central Valley is going to play a huge role in California's future. It has to. It has to. It's you go and you talk to people in this area. We're the forgotten region. We're flyover country. You fly over us. You may come here when you get, when you're running. But once you're in, you ignore us. You don't talk to us. You don't come here to figure out exactly what our needs are and to do anything for us. And a friend of mine who's supporting my campaign, he's a supervisor out in Stanislaus County. And I had no idea until we had this conversation. There are people that live in his supervisorial district that are an hour away from the nearest hospital.
Oh, wow.
An hour away.
Oh, wow.
That, in the fourth largest economy in the world that we seem to love to talk about, that is a failure of government. That is a failure of leadership. We have to change it. We have to build more hospitals. We have to build and fund and provide incentives for community clinics, because you have so many people. They don't get the same treatment, good treatment that people that are in coastal California get. And they, these are people from all walks of life that have all different types of beliefs that just want basic necessities, like to be able to go to the doctor when they're sick, or be able to take their kid to a hospital or to a clinic when they're experiencing something that's hurting them and that's impacting them. I'm a dad. There's nothing that I care about more than being able to make sure I'm providing for my family and that my kids can get the help when they need it. Nobody in this state should feel that kind of uncertainty. So yeah, community clinics are going to play a huge role, and the Central Valley is going to play a huge role in California's future in providing the dignity of life and care and just living for the future of this state.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you. We're going to move on to the next section, which is public education in schools. Over to you, Yolik. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you very much. 2026 marks the first year that California students in grades K through 2 are being screened for reading challenges like dyslexia under the Golden State Literacy Plan. So my question is, as we begin universal reading screenings this year, many districts are struggling to fund the literacy coaches and specialists needed to actually treat these issues. What is your 5-year plan to ensure a California child is reading at grade level by the 3rd grade?
So first, we need to fully fund LCFF. LCFF is the local control funding formula. We actually passed this when I was pretty newly elected to the legislature. The way we funded education in California was through standardized testing. And for the schools and the districts that did well, you got more money. For those that didn't do as well, you got less money. And that was backwards. And so what we did and what we recognized as the legislature is we need to flip that. First, we need to make sure everybody gets more money, because every area, every school, every child needs their per pupil funding and spending to go up. So we increased funding for every school district and every child per pupil spending. But what we did was made sure that the larger share went to the schools in the areas that were more underperforming. Like you want to have successful communities and equity, then you need to make sure that you're making sure the money goes to the places where there is greatest need, because education is the great equalizer. So if we fund that education in the communities that need that support, that need that attention, need that help, that over time, as they grow up, they've had more opportunities. They've been able to benefit from an education system to either go to college or not go to college, because not everybody's going to go to college now. And to pull themselves out of and pull these communities up and pull their families up out of poverty and provide good working, good paying jobs. So we need to make sure we're funding LCFF entirely. We also fund through attendance, and right now it is if you show up, you get the money for that child that's showing up, but you don't get the money based on enrollment. And so we need to make sure that we're funding based on enrollment, not based on how it's funded today. These are going to help us fund the programs and the support that we need. I mean, my daughter, Charlie, she's my oldest, she's 8. And when she was in first grade, she was struggling reading. She's in a unique position where she's basically a year younger than a lot of the other kids that are in her grade. And so she was taking a little bit more time to pick up the reading. And luckily, the teacher, talked to us. And so Elise and I, my wife, were able to work with her at home. But throughout the day, there were pullouts. And so she'd get pulled out to be able to work on her reading. And with what we were doing at home, because there was parents being involved and being included and being a part of the solution, along with these pullouts that were happening at school, she caught up really fast. And she is such a great reader right now. We need to make sure that every school in this state has access to that type of literacy support. And that's how we're going to make sure kids are going to be successful and meet those standards.
Absolutely. I love that. I have 2 grandkids right now. One is in school and another one will be in school next year. So I hope that they can benefit from that. I'm only going to ask one. Let's move on to the political rapid fire, Ayana.
All right. I know we're like, the time is just.
I know. I have so many questions, but I don't.
I know we're gonna.
Time flies when you're having fun.
We're gonna have to bring Ian back at some point. Where did my questions go? Oh, good grief! What have I done? Okay, here we go. Here we are. Okay, these are yes or no, so you don't have to elaborate. We're going to move through them pretty quickly, I hope. Do you believe California's government is too influenced by special interests?
Absolutely, yes.
Should the governor have more executive authority than they currently do?
No.
Do you believe California's homelessness strategy is failing?
100% yes.
Do you believe policing needs stronger oversight?
Absolutely yes.
Should voters hold you accountable for campaign promises?
Yes, they should.
Do you believe California needs major structural reform?
Oh my God, yes.
Should elected officials disclose all meetings with lobbyists?
Yeah, I would be fine with that. I got nothing to hide.
Do you believe political courage is lacking in Sacramento?
Yeah, these are rhetorical, right? Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're kind of leading. They're leading, Glenn. Would you commit to making at least one politically risky decision in your first year?
I can't tell you what that is right now, but absolutely yes.
Okay, there you go. See, easy peasy. All right. Over to you, Yoli, for public safety and immigration.
All right. Governor Newsom recently signed SB 805 to prevent ICE agents from wearing masks and hiding their identities during arrests. Given that federal authorities are already threatening to ignore this law, how will you, as governor, ensure federal agents are held accountable to California's transparency standards?
So what I think, the federal government has laws and the state has laws, and I don't care who you are. Everybody in our state, while they're in our state, are subject to our laws. And recently we saw the slaughter of Renee Good, and her being afraid because there's so much uncertainty, and she fled for her life and ended up losing it as a result of it. So if you come to our state, and I don't care if you're an ICE agent, you come to our state, you break our laws, our racial profiling laws, you murder somebody, you're not going to be treated any different than anybody else that comes to our state and breaks our laws. I will direct the Attorney General of California to file criminal charges against you personally, that agent, so that you understand that you may have a job to do and you may have the authority to do it. But if you break our laws, you're going to be subject to criminal charges as a result that anybody else would face in our state. And I'm not going to waver on that. Laws do no good without accountability and without consequences. So you don't have the right, whether you're the federal agent or not, to come in and violate our state laws. So we're going to hold you accountable for it.
Woohoo! I love that answer. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Just last week on New Year's Eve, the state DOJ had to step in to investigate a fatal police pew-pewing of Hugo Fernandez de Lara right here in Fontana. As governor, do you support the continued use of AB 1506 to take these investigations out of local hands? Or do you believe local DAs should regain the power to investigate their own police departments?
I mean, I think personally, I think it's circumstantial depending on the circumstances and surrounding the specific case and what ended up happening. But I think that just like I talked about in terms of federal agents coming into our state and violating our laws, there needs to be consequences. Just because you're a person of authority or a figure that represents enforcement doesn't mean that you have the ability to do whatever you want whenever you want. We need to invest in training programs so that our officers on the street know what is okay and what is not okay, and provide realistic standards for them to be able to achieve and adhere to. And then when they don't, we hold them accountable. I'm not familiar with the exact laws that you're talking about, and I don't know the exact details, so I don't want to speak out of turn and say something that is incorrect. But I want whatever is going to provide the most amount of accountability. But the way that I would do that is I would bring every stakeholder to the table: law enforcement, community activists, local governments, so that we can have a discussion on saying what's happening, what's working, what's not working, and let's fix what's not working to make sure that people trust us. One of the single greatest issues that we have right now in government is that people don't trust government. And it's coming from all sides, from all different walks of life, for a lot of different reasons. We have to rebuild that trust. If you don't have that trust, you cannot have a functioning democracy. And so we need to show people that we are going to rebuild that trust and that accountability when somebody is wrongfully killed or somebody is harmed, that there's going to be consequences to those actions regardless of who you are, but that there's a fair system put in place so that we're not setting anybody up for failure. We need clarity. These are the rules. You know how to follow the rules. You know what the rules are. You follow the rules. You don't, there are consequences for them.
Absolutely. I have one more question. When you were talking about ICE, would you be sure that the local law enforcement does not facilitate operations, like they don't go together with the ICE agents that might lead to the civil unaliving of people, like the ICE agent did in LA on New Year's Eve as well, when he unalived Keith Porter Jr. when he was pew-pewing in the air to celebrate, and he unalived him.
Yeah. So this is how I mean, where I stand on this is the hold on, I just lost my train of thought. Remind me the gist of the question again. I'm sorry.
But would you be how can I say it? Would you ensure that local law enforcement doesn't?
The coordination. Yeah. So when I was in the legislature, we passed SB 52, which was California's sanctuary state law. And California's sanctuary state law, what it did was it said that, you can't communicate and work directly with federal agents under a small set of circumstances. What it still allowed was, if there's somebody who's dangerous in our community, who is, harming people and victimizing us, and they're undocumented, then okay, local state agencies and law enforcement can work with federal agents to make sure that we're removing that individual from our communities. But that's it. Everybody wants a safe community. Everybody wants the ability to protect themselves and let their kids be able to play outside and not fear what's going to happen to them at night. And so I am not interested in helping these thugs do their job and victimizing Californians. If they really want to protect us, okay, then prove it. Show that you're going to protect us. But my whole issue is that when Donald Trump was running for president, he talked about this very issue. He said, "Oh, we're just gonna go after those that are dangerous," and we all knew that wasn't what was going to happen. We knew that wasn't going to be the case. So again, you come in, you racially profile, and you break our laws, you're gonna be prosecuted criminally under our laws, under the state of California, and I'm going to work with the Attorney General and direct him to do so. But I'm not going to. They're not just victimizing immigrants. They are victimizing citizens. They are killing citizens. And as governor of California, I ain't with it. I ain't going to support that, and I'm not going to help that. And I'm going to make sure that every law enforcement agency across the state knows my position and knows that I'm not going to be for it, and I will provide consequences for anybody that does that works with them and ends up resulting in somebody that's a citizen or a member or family, a member of our California community that ends up getting hurt.
Thank you. I want you to know that this is recorded, okay? So when you win, we're going to make sure that you remember what you said.
Do it. I told you we need to be held accountable. Campaign promises.
All
Let's
right.
do it.
If there's any questions in the audience, feel free to ask them. I'm going to pass this to Ayana to ask questions about environment and infrastructure.
And states working with the Fed has been an issue since the inception of this country. So, I mean, I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully, when you become governor, you don't have to wrestle with DJT so much as Gavin Newsom has. I think a lot of the wrestling is just strictly political. It's a conflict of personalities. It has nothing to do with making anything better. It's just somebody doesn't like this other person and they want to punish the state because of it, withholding FEMA funds, for instance. That's something that after the Palisades wildfires, something California had to deal with, Trump coming into power and saying, hey, if you don't do this, and this, we're not going to give you any FEMA money. We're not going to give you anything for anything else. And that's not the way it should be, right? If you have money appropriated, it has to go to whatever it's supposed to go to. But mostly when you see people suffering, you don't withhold funds because you don't like the person in charge. You have to think of the people. You work for the people. You don't work for yourself. You don't work for special interests. You work for the people. And that's one of the things that some politicians have a hard time wrapping their head around.
Ayana, you're 100% right. And this is why, and I've talked about this before, but I believe in DC proofing California. And when I talk about that, what I mean is I don't want to be under the threat of Washington, DC, or a president or a Congress who just wants to punish us because they don't believe in the same, share the same politics that we share. So many families are harmed when the federal government, decides to not send funds without having real facts or information. I mean, we're suffering this right now with childcare and money that is being ripped away from states like California because of a perception of potential fraud, no facts, and nothing rooted in reality on whether or not there actually is any fraud. And so these are now families that you can't go to work unless you know your kid is taken care of and there's a place for them to go where they're going to be safe or where they can learn. And so that's who you're hurting. You're hurting everyday people who, regardless of party, you're supposed to be representing, you're supposed to care about. And so, because we are the fourth largest economy in the world, I want to create a fund where we can generate a return annually, and over a 5 to 6 year period, we could generate the amount of money we get from the federal government, so we're not stuck under anybody's thumb. And I think that that's what you're going to see in a lot of states doing, is that because of all the dysfunction in Washington, D.C., and the lack of action, the lack of ability to just do the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing and not make it political, you're going to see states turning it on themselves and just finding ways to not have to be so dependent on the federal government. And that's how I view California needing to position itself, because we can't trust and rely on anybody other than ourselves.
I agree. Otherwise, states will have to make deep cuts to social programs, and that's not something that we need, or it's not something that we should be doing either. So climate and environment. Now, Wilmington, Carson, and West Long Beach are LA port communities, and they live with major sources of pollution, including two of the busiest ports in the nation, 5 oil refineries, 9 rail yards, 4 major freeways, and the 3rd largest oil field in the contiguous US. That's a lot of pollution. What new regulations or enforcement mechanisms would you support to reduce pollution in communities disproportionately affected by industrial activity?
So when I was in the legislature, so when I was in the legislature, we passed a lot of really stringent regulations, environmental regulations, and so this is going to be. There's a couple parts I'm going to have to navigate here so that you clearly understand the position that California is in. But we passed a lot of pro-environmental laws to make sure that communities all across California didn't have dirty air, had access to clean water. In fact, we passed legislation that said it is a right for you as a Californian to have access to clean, drinkable water. And we did a lot of work to try to do that. And some of the challenges that we're now faced with is a lot of these regulations have disproportionately hurt lower income, poorer communities. And when I was in the legislature, there was a lot of talk about we need more equity in the actual enforcement of these environmental laws and environmental regulations, because it's not the same. When I was in the legislature, there was a lot of talk. Oh, we need to electrify our transportation, so we need more electric vehicles. And I said, okay, well I introduced a bill called the 21st Century Infrastructure Project, which was going to make it a priority to invest and fund for more infrastructure for the electrification of our cars. And the legislature didn't want to have that conversation. My argument was, well, if we want a future that's electric, then you have to invest in it now to create the demand. And when you create the demand, industry will come in and see the money and provide the supply, whether they want to or not. They're going to do it. That's business. And we didn't do that. So I said, okay, well, often in California, the environmental movement is comprised of a lot of folks that can afford the regulatory costs associated with having environmental policies. And so I said, okay, well, we want people to buy electric vehicles. Sure. Well, I represented a significantly minority community, and we're 70% Latino. We have a lot of day workers. We have our 2000 F-150 pickup trucks. We can't afford a $100,000 Tesla, and you get a tax credit if you buy that $100,000 Tesla. But how do you expect people that are, making far less money a year to be able to be a part of that electrification unless there's incentives and policies put in place to help them and provide some tax incentive or relief? So I said, okay, how about we provide the same tax incentive? So if you buy a new car that's a electric or hybrid, you get that incentive. We'll extend it to secondhand used cars, because people that are, from lower income communities and that make less money, they need to know that the secondary market, if there's a car that I can afford because there's a tax credit associated that's electric, well, then I can afford it, and there's a benefit that's associated to me. Legislature in the state didn't think that was a good idea. So poor people, poor communities, communities of color, black and brown communities, the environmental movement has really been built on the backs of them, and creating this situation where housing is unaffordable, gas is through the roof. And, the guys and the people that worked in my district, utilities are through the roof because we have monopolies. So it's just like you just have this system that everybody wants clean air. I'm not joking. There were Republicans that lived in my district that were my environmentalists. I'm not joking. Everybody cares about a clean environment. Everybody wants clean air to breathe, clean drinking water. Everybody wants it. We want that for ourselves. We want that for our families. But it cannot continue to be built on the backs of hardworking black and brown communities, because that's where it is. And they've been priced out of everything, absolutely priced out of everything. And so, when I think about the environmental injustices that we were facing in this state, I want to see the environmental justice so that everybody gets to benefit from. There are communities. I visit Monterey Tract out in the Central Valley, heavily minority, black community. All they want is an investment from the state maybe $6 million to create, to redo their infrastructure so that they can just have clean drinking water coming out of their tap. That has been a request of theirs for over 10 years.
Oh my
10 years. So we can find on a whim, we can find $250 million to run a special election. You know, that's political and Proposition 50, which I'm not saying I didn't support Proposition 50, but why can't we always find money for that? And we can never find the money for the stuff that really matters. And that's why people don't trust government. And that's what needs to change. Focus on the little wins. Focus on the communities that are constantly being ignored and don't feel like they have a future here. They don't feel like they have a place here. They don't feel like they're seen by the state and seen by the governor and seen by the legislature. That has to change. And we're not going to have a clean environment that it's equitable for everybody until we have that.
I love that. I totally agree with you. That's what's happening at the federal level too. We can find money for, what did Tupac say? You could find money for wars, but you can't feed the poor.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what's happening. Thank you. Thank you for that response. I'm going to throw it back to Yoli for some fun rapid fire questions. And if you don't mind, we're going to go over just a little bit because we did start a little bit late. So if you have a few minutes, you just go over a little bit. So, okay.
No worries. Let's do it.
All righty. You ready for these? Okay.
Let's go.
In and out, animal style or keep it simple?
Keep it simple.
The go-to taco, El Pastor, carne asada, or grilled fish?
Carne asada.
Yes. Okay, choose your poison, the 405 or the 101?
Oh, I'll choose the 405 over the 101.
Is true or false? You've definitely taken a shortcut that ended up taking twice as long.
Oh, yeah, true.
Have you ever found yourself saying, before you mention a freeway number,
Yep, the 405, the 5, the 101.
The 210,
Yeah. It's a SoCal thing.
Right. Okay, amusement parks, Disneyland, Knott's Berry Farm, or Six Flags?
Disneyland, kids love it.
Okay, this one, we'll see if you get my vote, okay?
Uh-oh, all right.
49ers, Rams, Raiders, or Chargers?
Well, look at... we're just trying to be friends here. Why do we got to be so controversial? I'm a Rams fan. My wife is a 49ers fan.
All right.
Well, I didn't.
I'm a Ravens fan, so you're good. You're good.
Okay. Oh, okay. That wasn't an option.
All right, and the last one: a beach morning or a mountain hike?
Well, I'm a surfer, so I'm gonna say beach morning.
All right.
You're a surfer. Your wife allows you to continue to surf, even though you have 4 kids.
Well, I definitely talk more about it than I actually do it. I grew up. I was sponsored. I traveled. I competed. I did the whole thing.
Wow.
I was very competitive with surfing. And then, since I ran for office, I haven't surfed as much, but I try to get out as often as I can. Which it's been about 3 months since I've been in the water, but one day soon, hopefully.
You poor thing.
Yeah, I'm not complaining. I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah, that's one of those things. If I were married and my husband wanted to do, like, to me, I hear surfing and I just think a big wave is just going to come and take him, and that's it. And we got 4 kids. I don't know what I'm going to do. You're not surfing. You're not riding a motorcycle. You're not, cave diving or whatever. But hey, that's just.
She's got a bigger issue with me golfing because I'm gone for 8 hours. She's just like, nope, not happening.
I gotcha. Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
You're fine. Okay, we're going to talk about local issues and constituent focus really quick. With the recent USPS change, meaning a ballot mailed on election day might not get postmarked until the next day, what specific steps will your administration take to educate voters and protect them from having their legally cast ballots disqualified due to postal logistics?
I mean, I would say probably about more than any other state. I mean, this effort had started even when I was in the legislature. I would say that we provide the most opportunities. You know, same day registration. You know, and making it as easy for people to vote. But I think the one thing that we haven't done that needs to be done is we need to make voting a holiday. It should be a holiday. I mean, it should be a federal holiday, but make it a state holiday so that everybody knows today's vote day. You have one job, that's your job, and your reward for going and doing your civic duty, which we need you to do, is that you get the rest of the day off. Paid.
Yes, I love that.
So which day would you let them have off? The primary day or the election day?
Well, I mean, they're both election days, so you'd have the primary day off and the general election off.
Oh, okay. Hey,
2 days. Okay. Okay. In Bloomington, where I'm from right now, we're being hit from two sides. The federal tariffs are causing warehouse layoffs and economic instability. Yeah, we're still being asked to live in diesel unalive zones, as new warehouses are built 11 feet from our homes. As governor, how will you protect our health from logistics pollution while also protecting our families from an economy that is clearly too dependent on volatile tariff hit shipping industry? We have a bunch of warehouses around here.
Yeah, so there was actually, so the district that I represent in East LA County represent a lot of gateway cities, and the way that the topography of kind of just like this area of Southern California and going into the San Gabriel Valley is a lot of the pollution that would happen at the port from all the trains and the trucks and the ships. You get these onshore winds blow it in and it would sit in the San Gabriel Valley, and then move out more towards inland. And so, I would say I would want to sit down and have more conversations with people that are in the community so I can learn a little bit more, from their perspective of what they're facing, what their challenges are, and learn a little bit more about what I could do at the state level. One of the communities that I represented was the city of Industry, where there's about 1,000 people that live in the entire city, and it's mostly industry. And so there were issues with, a battery plant that was real close to a community. And, they felt that they were being, that they were suffering health impacts as a result of the proximity to that battery plant. So we went to the DTSE, Department of Toxic Substance Control, and we had them test the soil, had them test the water, and making sure that there's just response. Knowledge is so important. And if I'm going to protect myself and I'm going to protect my family, I need to know what I'm dealing with. And so before I choose to buy a home, it should be very clear, very transparent, which isn't new. If there are challenges, if there are specific things that I need to know when I'm buying a home, that I am legally made aware of, like, hey, FYI, X was found in the water. FYI, Y was found in the soil, just so that I can make an informed choice for myself and for my family. So I think being able to make sure that there's transparency, what you're being impacted by, there's follow through from the state. If you have a concern that they're coming out there and they're either saying, hey, don't worry, nothing, we've tested it, you're okay, or no, you are correct, you are right. And then working with the legislature to put in place the proper regulations to make sure that, businesses that are contaminating and industries that are harming are being held accountable, but that there's a clear set of rules that they know, like, hey, this is what your expectation is, and this is how you can count on us on enforcing it.
What about as far as the tariffs and the unemployment being so high because of that? How would you address that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of what we need to do is we just need to, we need to know where all our money is going so that we know how much we can then recoup and put towards spending that could solve for the challenges of increased prices as a result of tariffs. As a governor of California, I can't do anything at the federal level to stop them from, or stop the president from doing more tariffs and increasing tariffs. And, that's just not the role of state government. But I can make sure that I'm responsibly running that, that myself, the legislature, leaders in California are responsibly running our state government, and finding as many ways as we possibly can to ease the challenges that everybody is facing when it comes to increased prices as a result of tariffs, and offsetting as many of those costs as we possibly can because we're producing more energy. We are, we're allowing more technologies to be a part of the conversation to produce energy, which lowers utility costs and invest in storage so that we can have those storage options. And so, we just need to focus on ourselves and what we need to protect ourselves long term, and being accountable, repurposing dollars, that are maybe involved in different tax credits right now that have existed for 35 plus years and are no longer providing the same rate of return or on investment. And so it's no longer relevant, and we can repurpose that to alleviating everyday costs for Californians.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Ayana?
We do have one question in the chat, and it says, have you stayed involved in politics or the community since you left the assembly?
Yeah, I mean, I have. I mean, and in terms of some of the clients that I've represented, I've been involved in union contract negotiations, making sure that unions and workers can actually get, better benefits, higher wages in order to account for the changing times. I've worked with, good tech. And what I mean by good tech is, working with an artificial intelligence company that's focused on holding accountable and removing information from social media platforms that is using your likeness without your permission. And this was something that I was very passionate about. During my tenure in the legislature, I was the co-chair of the Legislative Tech and Innovation Caucus. And I actually, along with a colleague from Silicon Valley, we created it. And so I've been working on tech issues for a really long time. And what I like good tech that is focused on a return for us and for for your average everyday person, and that this technology is going to make us safer and provide more benefit to us rather than always having our digital information, our data pillaged and us being profited off of. And this is a company that does that. Being able to work with a company that focused on mass shooting events and how they can provide law enforcement and schools and businesses more information to protect themselves in the event that there's a mass shooting. Really cool next gen technology. So yeah, I've stayed involved and stayed involved in my kids' school and other places. Politics. Just because I left elected office doesn't mean politics left me.
I mean, that is clear. You've kept up with all of the things that are going on in the country and how that's going to affect your state. And I think the people are going to benefit from that, from your experience. So with that, for voters who are still undecided, because again, the field is large, what is the one reason you believe you are the right person to lead California as governor?
Look, if you look at what's happening across this country right now with the election of Mamdani in New York, different candidates in Maine and Michigan, all the announced retiring of older members from Congress, you're seeing a generational change in leadership. You're seeing the baton of leadership being passed to the next generation. And, we have had the same leaders with the same ideas that have just put us in the position that we're in today. And I just don't think that California's future is going to be tied or can be tied to a governor that's only interested in perpetuating this ineffective system that isn't working for us. You have to have a governor that's willing to challenge it. The governor that's willing to, it's like we have this box of solutions, of a small group of solutions that we're always pulling from. And it's never, how can we be more creative and innovative? Think outside the box, do things differently. And you're just not going to get that from rerun candidates. You're going to get that from a new generation that's offering something new, that's offering something different. I'm different than anybody else in this race because I had power. I had authority and I didn't cling to it. I let it go. I didn't try to parlay that into another office or another race or another position and continue to grow my power over time. No, I gave it up freely without question to go and be with my family and raise my kids and live in the same world that everybody else is living in and raising their families in. And so I feel like I'm the only one in this race that knows what it's like to be raising kids in this day and age without being in government and about being a part of this system that just isn't working for us. We need to do something new. We need to try something different. And I just believe that I'm the one that best represents that in this race.
You need to put that in the ad, no rerun candidates. And like have one of those
Noted.
circles with the line on it through their faces or something.
I love it.
That would be very effective. Can I get one more question? One more. And that is, how do the people support you and your campaign? Where do they find you? How do they donate to you? What are we doing?
Yeah, so first, just visit my TikTok, watch my videos, tell me how awesome they are, and if they're not awesome, tell me how awesome they are not. And you know, my Instagram, which is Ian C. Calderon, and then on X, you can find me at Ian Calderon. My website is ianforgovernor.com. If you go to my website, and there's clearly a donation link, and I would really appreciate it. You know, I have not taken any corporate dollars, any PAC dollars up until this point. And if I could have individuals, I mean, even everybody who's watching this right now, just go and contribute $1. It makes a huge difference for us to be able to get our message out. Right now, the differentiating factor between myself and all these other candidates is that I was out for a long time and I'm coming in and I'm really going against the grain and I'm going against the establishment. And the only way for me to be successful in that is to have just enough money to be able to explain to people who I am, be more visible, let them see me, hear me, and have that more of that engagement. And so even if it's just $1, it goes a long way and it helps me run my campaign, helps me run my operation. And that is absolutely at this point in time what the kind of support that I need. And then of course, you know, like and, you know, repost all my stuff that I put out there on social media, help me get the word out. That'd be huge.
And also, I like that you have a good answer for what you've been up to since you've been out of the political rigmarole. I like that answer. Because people want to know that. They want to know what you've been up to. If you've still had your head in the game, your head is still in the game. His head is still in the game, y'all. He's still in it.
Speaking of head, you certainly have the hair to be the governor right now.
Yeah.
That's very nice hair. And yeah, we love a good coif. What do they call it? Coif. We love it. But
good. You know, my wife thinks I'm ridiculous, but you know, I'm glad you guys appreciate it.
We do, and we appreciate you joining us this evening. This has been wonderful. We love having intelligent candidates who are well-spoken, who know what the heck they're talking about. One final question, Ian, will you visit some rural areas as part of your campaign tour? And that's coming from someone who lives in California.
Absolutely. So I've already been out there. I've spent a lot of time out there, and I'm going out there again on the 14th to spend more time with rural California so I can learn more, to figure out how I can best help you guys and no longer treat you like the forgotten region that you've been treated like.
All right. There you go, Miss Pam. There's your answer. He's coming to your neighborhood, Miss Pam. So be on the lookout. Again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Well, it's evening where I'm at. It's afternoon where you are. But we have enjoyed this. And thank you to the audience for joining us. We really appreciate it. Our next town hall, if you're in the mood, in the neighborhood, our next town hall will be with Melissa Villanueva out of Illinois. She's running for the DuPage County Board, District 1. That is on Tuesday, January 13th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, followed by Randy White at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. She's running for Maryland's House of Representatives. U.S. House of Representatives out of Maryland, District 1, again, Tuesday, January 13th, 2026 at 7 p.m. Eastern, followed by another town hall at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also we have a politics candidate roundtable on Sunday, January 18th, 2026. I will be your gracious moderator. Mr. Ian, if you want to join us for that, you are welcome to do so. We're just going to have a bunch of candidates coming in, talking about how difficult it is to squeeze $1 out of Americans for a campaign, or whatever you want to talk about.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Yes, we would love to have you again. Thank you to Ian. Thank you to Yoli for all of your questions, your California-centered questions. They were wonderful. Thank you so much to everyone. This has been Our Vote Counts, another successful OVC town hall. Our Vote Counts is a nonpartisan movement uniting Americans from all walks of life to support candidates of integrity like Ian, empower voters, and ensure every voice is heard. Through education, outreach, accountability, and action, We are building a stronger democracy, one informed vote at a time. We thank you for joining us. Remember, your vote is your power. And have a good weekend, everyone. Bye.